Welcome, guys, to the Omniverse of Nick, and part 2 of 3 of Dixon's Whispers, Merle versus Beta, the spin-off to What If Daryl Died Instead of Merle. Now, before we begin the second part, make sure to smash that freaking like button and subscribe to the channel so you can make this channel and help me make this channel bigger, better, and get more awesome stories pumping out and all that good stuff. Once you guys take care of all that and look at membership and all that stuff, we will get into today's video. Now, in the last one, we covered Merle confronting Beta in a very, very out of place way. Well, not out of place if you've seen The Ones Who Live. And now we're gonna get into how Merle got here. So, he meets the people that Michonne did in the end of season 10, or, that episode. Meets with Nat, the whole group which they were at. Except with Merle, he's not looking for any family. He's looking for a man who could be a threat to a community in which he's from. So his reasons for going and where he is and everything is going to be different correlating whenever he's talking to Nat and everybody else. Nat and everyone, unlike being friendly here, they're still friendly with Merle, but Nat calls out that his reasons now, especially going out, are extremely freaking stupid. Because this guy sounds like he was a very big deal. But we all know how Nat was in wanting to help, and the fact that Merle says he could be a threat, so he decides to help, along with the people that do. So, we get that scene with all of them together going, and the CRM's introduction and gassing everyone, which results in the deaths of everyone except Merle and Nat. Because I'm not gonna literally kill Merle off here. If Michonne could survive the gas, Merle could too. It's just literally that simple, especially if he's lived this long. Merle doesn't know if it's worth it at this point to go after him, but Nat says if he's got to take care of this and he's gotten this far with so many hints and everything and seeing the mask and learning more about the Whisperers, he says now he believes in the fact that he's going to help Merle see this through and make sure that their communities and everything stay safe. Merle is definitely perked up at the fact that Nat has this much confidence that they can still do this and everything. And he really is liking Nat. Soon enough, they get better, and Merle asks if Nat still wants to go through with this, because Beta's not going to be a pushover when they find him. And now they got the CRM on their tail. But Nat says they're seeing this through, and if he can't live through it, he'll help Merle see this through. Then we get to them shooting down the helicopter, and Nat more or less staying behind and asking what he should do with, like, if Merle has trouble with the soldiers that they just shot down the helicopter from, or if Beta is either with them or, like, tries to use them or is just nearby. But Merle says whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that Nat is there to back him up, if need be. But he's confident in taking the soldiers down. But once Nat sees Merle overpowered by Beta and his introduction, how giant he is and what he looks like, Nat's like, no, I'm helping, and shoots a rocket right whenever Beta reveals himself, throws down the helmet, the end of the last episode. But Beta knew that Merle came with someone and anticipated some kind of attack. So he throws his knife in response, or one of them, and that officially blows up the rocket, which throws Nat back. Doesn't injure him, but it does throw him back. And now, suffice to say, Nat's peeing his pants right now. Because, yeah, no ordinary man can do this. And now, Beta clutches his giant machete given to him by the CRM, and now he's looking to take out Nat. But then, he is shot in the back by Merle, and, yeah, Merle was just thrown for a loop and thrown down. He wasn't injured, so of course he'd still be able to fight And now Beta is officially angry. He's finally gotten the chance to get his revenge on at least one of the people who made him this way. Soon enough, a helicopter shows up, and Beta devilishly side-eyes and grins at this, because he tells Merle that if these two are gonna cause him this much trouble and take out the soldiers he's with, if they think he is bad now and that he's got worse than when they last crossed paths, his people that he's with, they ain't gonna live past them. But Merle says that's not going to happen and throws a smoke grenade, which gives Merle and Nat time to escape. And now Beta is utterly furious. But before he can unleash his fury more by either going after them or attacking someone or something, he realizes that Merle had something that belonged to him. Once Thorn and soldiers approach and everything, they demand to know what happened, Thorn most of all. Beta recognizes that Merle had his mask, the one he threw on that boat, which means he tracked him here. Beta tells the likes of Thorn that he has been tracked here by an old foe from his past, and that he was merely trying to get him out of the way and finally get his revenge, and notice that that guy had his mask, and that they're either going to find them or they need to go after them. Thorn says, whatever the case may be, they'd best go back to base first, because they already lost a decent few soldiers and Okafor. So whenever they get back to base, Jadis is waiting for Beta. And Jadis is very surprised to see Beta truly in the fold of the CRM, despite having heard of everything. And honestly, very unrecognizable to the Beta that she came here with. And jokingly and tauntingly asks, "Don't tell me you're still looking to try and get away, are you?" But Beta doesn't have time for Jadis's mind games and brushes them aside like tissue paper, because he tells Jadis that the people that made him do all that killing and how he ended up at that junkyard where she was, one of them, Merle Dixon, is caught onto his trail. He tracked him all the way here. And he knows why and how he got here and how he was able to track him. He doesn't know much about Merle Dixon. All he knows is that him, a man named Rick Grimes, and a girl named Andrea, they all are the ones who made him how and who he is today. And he knows how Merle got here. It's because of his mask that was on that boat that he threw. But he does plan to get rid of him once and for all. Jadis asks, how does he plan to do that? Because, number one, if Merle tracked him all the way here, that means that they could find the CRM and bring that whole group washing down upon them. And even though the CRM has more than the numbers capable of such an event, and Jadis is not, messed up on the fact of, being involved with anyone, since she wasn't, besides her own people. She does know, though, that the responsibility of Beta, as well as her safe keeping herself in the CRM, falls on her shoulders. So, them waiting to do a move isn't going to work. She tells Beta to send a team out because he wanted this rule to stay with the CRM. And if he's truly endeared to the cause, and that's one of his old enemies, he's better see to this personally, or it will affect them both and everyone here. Beta says that even though this isn't his calling, it's a choice. He says that he plans to eradicate Merle and anyone else that came with him. And then we'll see where it goes to from there. And with that, they make a plan. Meanwhile, Merle and Nat are recovering from the beating and attack that they were just given. at a cabin some ways away from where they were. Nat asks, what are they going to do now? But Merle can't respond. He just can't believe it. The man that he was searching for, the threat of their community, and the guy whose mask was on that boat, he found with the guys who gassed them, he's working with them now? He honestly didn't expect this, but Beta is even more powerful than ever. And this is very, very bad. And he tells Nat this, and that Beta is not the threat that he was before. He's even worse. No wonder he was taken by surprise and beaten in the fight. But to be fair, he was caught off guard because he didn't know it was Beta. But now, Merle has a plan. What they gotta do is, they gotta sneak attack more carefully and appropriately this time, because they know, he knows, that now Beta will tell this group, the CRM, of Merle and Alexandria and all the communities, which means they're gonna have their hands full. And Nat says, what does he mean by that? And like, what's Merle's plan here? And Merle says it's simple. They can't risk Beta with this new group finding the communities and destroying them and gassing them. Because if they could barely survive and it killed everyone else, imagine the destruction. They've got to deal with this. And even though they are outnumbered and Merle was taken down somewhat by Beta, they can beat him and lower the chances so that way if the CRM is to attack or not attack at all, this is honestly what they have to do. So, they're going to find a location in which they can anticipate the CRM will find them at and take out Beta and anyone else they can and save the communities from destruction. And Nat says it's a freaking foolishly dangerous plan, but he likes it. And with that, they set off. From the cabin in which they're at, which was a ways from the location in which they were at, they go to a remote wasteland, which is in the middle of it all. So, whenever they get there, they prepare themselves to ambush whatever and whoever is there. That being Beta, Thorn, and several CRM soldiers. And they're just travailing through. They're not looking here for good. And Thorn asks, they're just in the middle of all of this. What makes Beta so sure that Merle won't be ready this time with other people rather than just that one little short dude that Beta saw? But Beta says Merle made a stupid decision not coming here with others. He probably wanted to do this alone. And he smirks at this, saying it's rather foolish and it will be his last mistake. But while he is monologuing and being him, all of a sudden, every one of them hear the word now screamed out of nowhere. But before any of them can process what's happening, an explosion rings out. And it blows up all, if not close to all, of the soldiers and catches everyone else by surprise, giving Merle and Nat the perfect opening advantage to begin their assault on Beta and the CRM. But how will it go? Will Merle actually be able to take out Beta with Nat being alive and not being killed immediately like before? Will they be able to save the communities from certain destruction? And if they do manage to at least win or halt proceedings, what will happen after? Or is this all for nothing? Find out next time in the final part to this 3-parter spinoff of Merle and Beta. You guys didn't think this was the end of the video, did you? Well, the Omniverse of Nick has a new feature. A sneak peek at what's next to arrive.
Now it's time.